Drink Different with Dr. Wolf, the change agent.
Hello, everyone.
Well, good evening to you. The sun is setting here in California. It's 6 or 7 or 8 o'clock where you are. And it's kind of a funny day, isn't it? It's not quite a holiday. And some of us went back to work, and some of us did not, and got an extra couple of days vacation. And tomorrow night is an interesting evening, isn't it? For some people, it's an opportunity to get loaded and hang out and be social and watch the ball drop and celebrate the new calendar year, 2014. And somehow marks change. I think there's a lot of feelings that go along with New Year's. One thing that I like is I use it as time to contemplate the past year and think about, are there any lessons that I learned? Are there lessons that I wished I learned? Are there any people that I have a problem with that I would like to clean up in the next 48 hours, or that, as they say in the 12-step program, make amends with? It's that time to look back at the year. And as we have more years in back of us than we do in front of us, which is the case for some of us, question of, what would I like to do in the coming year? What is this next year about for me? Of course, there's the possibility of saying, okay, New Year's resolutions. But since one of my sayings is the best predictor of future behavior is past performance, how's that worked out for you in the past? If you are someone who has had the experience making a New Year's resolution, sticking to it, God bless you. Good for you, man or woman. That's a challenge. Because I think sometimes these New Year's resolutions are made from a place of, gee, I'd really like to do that. Or, gee, I'd really like to not do that. I call myself, for the purpose of our show here, I call myself the change agent. And we have change time at the last bit of the show. And I'm wondering if anybody actually, we had a couple hundred people listening to us last week, if anybody actually put that into action. If you did, give us a call. Mr. J, you got the phone number there?
Yeah, the phone number is 405-316-8964, and you can also get us on Skype at TFOK Radio.
So if you did change exercise, I invite you to do that. And you experienced any real change, call in anybody that, if we can let you know, if you let us know that you're out there, we'd like to give you a free book. We're going to send you a free ebook. One of my books, either the Building Blocks of Emotional Intelligence or the Taming Your Anger book, and we'll send it to you. Come on in. But in particular, I wonder if any of you did the change exercise, which I'm going to do the same way every week. When we get feedback, if you call up, I can help you take it further, by the way. So to make a New Year's resolution is to make a change. If New Year's resolutions worked for you in the past, it's a good shot that it can work for you again in the future, meaning right now, tomorrow night. But if New Year's resolutions, it's not something that's worked with you in the past, then maybe it's a different way of looking at it. So one of the ways, as many of you may know, I'm a therapist. That's what I do for a living. And part of the way that I want to work with this program is present some of the basic principles that I think are operating that you shouldn't have to go to a therapist for. you should be able to understand, when you understand the way the psyche works in very simple ways, like working with emotional intelligence, which we try to teach, you can begin to understand the psyche and work with it in ways that can be more effective than what you've been doing. For instance, if you picked something a behavior that you would like to change, pick a behavior you want to change, and think about, okay, got it? Now, ideally, you'll write it down. Write it down. I would like to change that. I'd like to do more of this or less of that or something like that. Write it down. And the next thing is think of the consequences for you if you don't change that behavior. So you would like to, whatever, I want to go to the gym 3 days a week. Or I want to practice the piano twice a week. Or do something with my diet. Or do something with somebody in my life that I care about. Just think of something. Okay, what's going to happen if the best predictor of future behavior is past performance? If you're more likely to do what you always have done, what are the likely consequences for you if you decide not to change the behavior? Because you see, that's an outcome. You got a choice. You always get a choice. Do something or not do something. That's simple. But to not do something is to choose the consequences of non-action. The other question is, what if you did attempt, forget about being successful, what are the consequences for you of attempting to change that pattern? If you knew that you were willing to put some bit of muscle and energy and intention behind doing it, how do you think that would affect you? How would it make you feel about yourself? Even if you didn't succeed 100% or 50%. What if you succeeded 10%? How would that affect you? And what would the consequences be in the situation if you took it on as an exercise? Because you decided, I want to choose the consequences of action to create positive change, rather than, which are unknown. You don't know, you see, because when you make a change, you don't know what will happen. You can guess. Or you can go to the consequences of non-action. Pretty much you know what's going to happen if you don't change anything. That pattern of behavior with you and your girlfriend, your boyfriend, or your kid, or your boss, that's going to stay the same. It's going to stay the same, probably, unless they're doing this in the same exercise you are. That would be nice, wouldn't it? So, if you want it to change from what you most likely will experience, then think about one small thing that you can do to make that change happen, a small thing. Now, the goal is, once you build on that, is to take another small thing. So you're headed in that direction. That's how I understand the process of change in human behavior. There's other factors to it as well. If you don't, you should also say, how important is it to me? Let me go back a step. So you know the consequences of non-action. It's going to be what it's always been. You can figure out, it might be worth taking an action of some kind. How's that going to make me feel about myself? How can you introduce a change when you have a resistance to change? And what is it, this resistance to change? So now you've decided you want to do it, let's say. And it means doing some small thing, making a phone call. If you want to go on a diet and you want to stop eating sugar, I will try to help you figure out, okay, don't eat sugar from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock on a Tuesday. tomorrow for 3 hours. Just stop, no sugar. Can you do that? And you'll say, yeah, I could do that. And I said, okay. Why would you not do that? Well, I'd have some kind of thought or feeling that would stop me. And I would say, okay, is that the voice of a friend or is that the voice of an enemy? And what would you say? Oh, I can't stop eating sugar from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, or smoking a cigarette, or taking a puff off a joint, or taking a drink of alcohol, or whatever. You mean you don't think you can stop doing it from 9 to 12 o'clock? How about from 9 to 10 o'clock in the morning? Can you do that? Can you do that? Could you not drink for 1 hour? At some point, I would get you to the point of realizing that if you can't stop drinking or having a cigarette or eating sugar or whatever for 1 hour, then you have to recognize that you're out of control. And now we go down that path. How do you deal with being out of control once you recognize you're out of control? Because you can't deal with being out of control unless you recognize that you're out of control. You have to be aware, self-aware enough to do that. So now, once you set your goal small enough that you say, of course I'm going to do that for an hour or 3 hours. If you don't do it, you get an opportunity to observe what is it within you that stops you from doing something that you really say you want to do, because you don't want the consequences of not doing it. How's that? Is that a little complicated? You said you wanted to change something. Remember, we go back to making a change in your life. You look at the consequences of not acting, and you say, I don't want those consequences. I know what's going to happen. So I'm going to take some small step. And I'm suggesting a really small step. If you don't take the small step, then your job is to recognize what is stopping you from taking a small step to better and change your life. What is it within you? And now you have what's referred to as a real learning opportunity. You get to look at some part of yourself that is stopping you from taking responsibility for creating a change in your life that you decided that you wanted to make. This is a good thing to know. It's good to be able to identify your own saboteurs, as we call them. It says in The Godfather, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. We sometimes listen to thoughts or feelings or sensations that we experience, and we treat them as if it's the voice of a friend. Because it says, go ahead, do that, man. Hey, that's okay. Sure, who cares? And we say, hey, that's good advice. I think I'll do that. And then what happens is you regret it because you listen to the wrong voice. At some point, I can talk about these voices. If you've been tracking our show, we've been on now for about 6 weeks. I started out telling the King Arthur story about the Knights of the Round Table, because we do have story time. And at some point, maybe I should retell that, because you see, this story that you're listening to now, this idea that you're listening to a voice inside of your head, maybe it's a feeling or a craving, and you think that it's the best information, the best advice that you can get. So you act as if that's the best thing around. So there's two things going on. There's the you